Hi, this is Ari Copel and Serena, your show hosts for Shattering the Matrix here on Blog Talk Radio. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Another topic that is very difficult to address, we will attempt to address tonight because our aim is to expose all the stuff that's been hidden from humanity for so long that has been keeping us in a state of stupor, shall we say, in a state of not knowing what's going on, an allowance in a perpetual allowing of these things to happen, because if we're not aware of them, of course, they're going to go rampant. So Serena and I have taken on the task of trying to expose as much of this as possible, and also in the future we'll be bringing on some amazing people that are experts in the field that would also help us to shatter this matrix as well. We are going to be addressing the topic of the dark forces that mostly archontic, that they use specific tactics to create fear, and fear being a very, very strong emotion in human beings is a source of food for them, and it's also a vibration that just keeps this matrix in place. And, they do all kinds of things from creating wars to, trauma, to, raping, to pedophilia, to anything that would cause fear and agony and pain is basically what they do to feed off of and to maintain their level of, their style of living, shall we say, on this planet. Serena, did you want to address anything in specific tonight with respect to anything of this particular topic?
Well, all of those topics are very difficult for me to discuss, and on some days they're very particularly difficult, and unfortunately today is one of those days because of my brain fog, which is still very much present, but these are, as you say, all very powerful tactics that they use, the dark forces, for many reasons, keeping the people dull and in shock, traumatized, because when you're traumatized, you're not resistant, because you're so much in shock and you have so much survival to engage in when these things are happening that you don't have the capacity to fight. So they keep these things going on and on and on. And the other thing is that they use these energies of these trauma, emotions, fear and terror, sadness, desperation, the pain that they cause. These things are food. They're energies. They're very powerful energies, and they are as food to the disincarnate, and who are working through the physical beings who do these things physically in the physical manifest realm. Mm-hmm. It is just it's a horrible thing, and it has been happening since the beginning. And I'm only talking about these things because I really feel that they need to stop. We need to say no, and I might have to say that 1,000 times. As to the reason why we talk about these things is the fact that we have to stop it and we have to say no to it, because they're not going to stop. And they reproduce themselves prolifically. They reproduce themselves so that there are so many of them. But it only takes one psychopath to cause hell and torment for many, as we know, from the single pedophile to the mass murderer or serial killer. It only takes one to cause torment and anguish, to a lot of people, which the, dark energies feed off of, either physically or non-physical entities. So people need to understand that these things are what's taking place. It's not, it's not just this religious perspective, or especially the New Age, that people tend to believe a lot right now. Karma, sin, things like that. It is absolutely a tremendous dark force, collective of dark forces that are working against people, and this is important for people to understand.
Right, and it's not so much perhaps that it's like you said, it's not something that is religious maybe, or the idea that it's a soul contract, although it sounds great. Gee, we came here to suffer because we have these lessons that we agreed that we're going to learn on the planet, so that'll allow us to earn our little Cub Scout Eagle badges and whatnot. That is one of the, I guess, the lines or the lies or the
one of the biggest lies ever perpetrated upon humanity is convincing humanity that they are so terrible and so dark that they need to go through hundreds of lifetimes or thousands of lifetimes of lessons, forgetting what they came and learned previously anyway, being stripped of everything, memory, etc., and being brought into families that are absolutely dysfunctional, all to learn, lessons. This is not a creation of a being of love. You understand? This is absolutely the creation of a psychopathic, demonic. If there was anybody who was psychopathic and believed themselves to be God and had amazing technologies and abilities to do things to little people the way we do with chickens, what would you do, right? What would you do? You would create a setup exactly like what is happening here on Earth with, people suffering needlessly. Okay?
Yeah. And there's certain people that I've noticed too that tend to suffer more than others with these forces. Is it something that they find it, they created a trauma to begin with, and then now they've got an opening, and because they have that opening, they're just easy prey? What do you think about that? Is that possible?
Do you mean within the person themselves who is suffering?
Yeah, within the person, for example, so let's say that some trauma happens in their childhood, and because of that, maybe their auric field is compromised, they have holes in it, and they're more prone to be attacked that way.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what's happening, and that happens to these beings who have soul, and this soul, I think, is like a visible, not visible to us, but it's visible to them, you see? And it looks like an eggshell of light, right? An eggshell of light, which they call the aura, I believe is what the soul looks like. And the reason it changes colors is because your mood and your energy is different in that moment than in different moment. It has different shades, which is fine, but it's still there. It's an aura, and it is like the soul. And this may not be precisely the way it is, but this is the way I see it. When you do have damage, just like an eggshell, when it's damaged, it's cracked, right?
Sure.
And so this is what happens. They cause these things to beings because your soul or your aura is very bright, and it's not visible to our own eyes, but it's visible to their eyes. They can see these lights and these auras, and when your light is very bright, as in a human being who has this soul, then they know who to go and to mess with, right? And they can see this soul or this being even when it's still in the womb of the mother. So they can see this light shining through this woman who is pregnant, and they know who to target because they do get targeted. And then they set up situations because we're completely oblivious to the fact that they're working like this, but they set up situations to cause these traumas to these souls, right? And then these souls suffer and experience pain. And then they have cracks in their aura because some of these sufferings and traumas are very intense. And one of the most popular ways, of course, is, through sexual abuse of a child that happens, usually by the father or some male in the family, it is pandemic with the men. And the children suffers at the hands, often as young as just being a baby who is just a few months old, okay, and to 2 years, and children just most of them are. This is trauma, because this energy, this perverted sexual energy that is coming from this pedophile, is traumatic to the one who has a soul, and so it begins then. And so, sexual abuse is one of the most common ways of creating trauma in a person's life, and they're not prepared to deal with this kind of perversion because it's not within their makeup to handle this kind of thing, and they don't know how to deal with this, and they go through life with this broken eggshell, right, that leaves them open to all kinds of negative energies that continually come in to them, and they don't know why they have this pattern in their life, and they have this pattern that's coming in because of this trauma that they suffered that is like a calling card, and it keeps broadcasting this same frequency, and so they keep, it keeps coming to them. And, some really ignorant people call this the law of attraction. And it's not, in a perverted way, it is the law of attraction, because this pain is still broadcasting its pain, right, from the experience, and so it's attracting it, and so other beings, disincarnate, see that this is what's happening. This pain is there, and so they keep coming towards this pain and creating more of that pain.
Sure.
And then this
they harvest it as food.
Yeah, and they use it as food, and then the being, who keeps experiencing thinks that they have bad luck, or, they need to learn lessons, or they had to suffer for whatever reason, or their family was whatever, and it's horrible the way they begin to think of themselves when they have these things that are repeated in their lives. And it is an energy that is constantly being broadcast, this pain, and it keeps attracting more of it, because these disincarnates, these black things, these shadow men, shadow figures, disincarnates, archons, whatever, they keep seeing this, and wherever there is a weakness or a pain, they will exacerbate it. They will do and manipulate circumstances to make it worse. And so this person is continually exposed until they realize that this is what's happening. Normally what happens is the person thinks that they are just, having bad luck, or a rotten life, or they have karma and sin, and they have to do repentance, and they have to do all these other things, and, do prostrations all the way up the mountain, and this is what they're thinking. And this is, oh my God, and the archons, they just eat this up until they realize that this is not what's happening, that they were not so evil to deserve, a life like that. And they realize it is an external force, and until they address it and do something about it, they will continue to suffer with it.
Exactly, and that is so important, which is what we're trying to do, as many others are as well, as to address it, to bring it into the light, to shine light on it, so that people can realize that we can do something about it, that this is not the way it's supposed to have been, that something happened where we were told a lie, that, and then, if we think that it's something, external to ourselves, that it's something that, this is the law of karma, this is, I attracted this in my life because, I'm thinking that way, so I'm manifesting this in my life. As long as we keep thinking along those lines, we're not really looking at the real problem. And I do notice that a lot of people who are in, basically light workers, here they are, they're shining the light. These are the ones that are usually messed with a lot, and I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, because
they don't want us to do the work.
No. They know. They can see our light better than we can see our light. We can't see our light, right? We just see each other. But these other beings that are on the other side, they're disincarnate. They see us as light from their side. They see us as light. And some of these lights are really bright, and they just target them. they target them from the beginning, and they start creating situations and things, really bad things that really cause pain, as much as they can, and the person never knows, what's going on. Never. Yeah. And that's why I'm talking about this, because this breaks my heart, and I really want people to start testing this, really testing this, and seeing if you're suffering from karma, or you're just suffering from being manipulated. 9 times out of 10, you're being manipulated. Really.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I know. Let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, because you opened up a very, very interesting topic when we were at that radio show with Janice Barcelo, Birth of a New Earth, the other day. And I thought it was really amazing that you brought it up. And it had to do with the fact that when human sacrifice has been done, specifically on certain, places of importance, like ley lines or vortexes or whatever, and blood has been spilled. You brought something up that just like, wow, where did that come from? And, of course, it was obviously a download. Can we talk about that a little bit more? I mean, why those sacrifices, first of all, and then why in those specific areas?
Wow. Okay, putting it into words for the first time, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everybody has heard of, blood sacrifices, and me, I hear that word and I cringe. I run the other way. And I never understood why they did that. It was just sick, crazy people. Turn the other way. Don't look at it. And I still don't want to look at it. But it occurred to me why they do this. Because the body of the earth is a living being. It has a cell. It is a tiny replica of an entire body. And you know how they say that if you, like in the case of a hologram, if you take one tiny piece of a hologram, that one tiny piece is a reflection of the entire whole, that you can see the entire whole from one tiny piece, right? Well, the body of the Earth Mother is the same way. This is a single cell. This planet Earth is a single cell in the body of the Earth Mother, of the Universal Mother, I should say, is a single cell. Right? And this single cell is a replica of the larger body, just like in any hologram. And in any single cell that reproduces in the process of mitosis the same thing that is in the original cell. Everything the same. And so when you have this cell, the single cell that is the body of the mother, and you have all these acupressure points along in her body because it's the full body at the same time that it is a single cell of a larger body, right? So there are these creatures, I call them creatures, or beings, who understood these things that regular people did not understand, right? These are the manipulators who have been manipulating everything on the planet since the beginning of time, and these false gods, and let's just call them the false gods. And they understood the power of the blood contained within the being of light, that is the human being, which is us, right? The human being, because these false gods are alien gods. Right, and the reason that they're here is because they want something we have, obviously. I mean, if we were completely worthless, these gods wouldn't be wasting their time on such, small beings, right? I mean, if you're a god, you don't play with nonsense. You want cool stuff to play with, so you find cool stuff. We must be that cool stuff because they're here, and they've been here for thousands of years manipulating and playing and, doing all kinds of things. So they've been playing with us, and they have found a power in our bodies, which is contained within our blood. Our blood contains and emits light, and frequencies, high frequencies. And that was another way for them to achieve this consumption of energy that they needed, this essence that they needed, at the same time that it was a way to cause such pain and turmoil to the creature that they hated so much, because we have this essence and this light that they don't have, and they are so insanely jealous of it. Mm-hmm. So at the same time they're destroying and causing pain and torment to the person that has it, they're consuming it, thinking that by consuming it, they will have this energy, right? And when they understand that they don't have this energy, they can't take it even if they consume it, then what they do is they torment the being that has it. And that torment releases hormones and chemicals of adrenaline and fear and all of this high energy, negative energy that goes into the blood, and then it's released into the earth. And that becomes also like a living transmitter of dark energy into the earth, and these vortex points, these energy points that affect the entire body. And when you do this on every vortex and energy point, then you have covered the entire body of the earth with negative energy of fear and torment and pain. And this is what has been, the frequency of this planet forever, because sick, psychopathic beings, creatures have been doing this for like thousands and thousands of years. And not only do they do this with human beings, but they do this with animals. Sure. In a completely unconscious and careless way. They torture the animal, or they don't care about the torture because they're actually so incredibly stupid to believe that animals don't have feelings, that they do horrible things to the animals, and just before the animal is killed, it's emitted all this adrenaline and this fear, from the chickens to the lambs to goats to cows to every animal that they're butchering like crazy, you can imagine. And this fear also goes into, their blood, and then the blood is released wherever it's released, and then this animal is consumed. And so it's an endless cycle. So the sickness that they created from their horrible greed and insatiable jealousy for something that we have has been passed down in ignorance to people who have decided to do this also to animals, and not letting people understand what is happening when they're butchering animals in this manner and then consuming it. All right? I mean, so this blood, this fear energy is just all over the planet. This planet is soaked in blood that is emitting fear and negative energy, not to mention everything else.
Not to mention all the, then you have the conscious sacrificing, which is done, of course, with intent and evoking all kinds of...
Right, and then there's that. And it empowers it, because now that they're doing it consciously and with intention, we all know what intention does, right? It really focuses that energy and directs it like a missile. Right? And then they're doing it deliberately in that way. And oh, God, it's just horrible.
Yeah, and then not to mention then, of course, the spillage of blood, the constant war. So the planet is completely soaked.
That's a mass way of doing it on a mass level like that. Exactly, precisely. That's why wars never end. These men are constantly conjuring up a war for any reason whatsoever. Oh, the oil. Oh, they're a threat. Oh, they have a weapon we don't have. I mean, I don't even know what the reasons are anymore. They're so sick. But people eat it up and soak it up, right? And so yes, that is a mass way that they know what they're doing, letting out this blood. But the people who decide that they're going to pick up the weapon and go shoot complete strangers across the country, complete idiots who decide that they're going to do this, right? They don't know that they're being used in a mass sacrifice and ritual for bloodletting, for dark, absolutely black and evil purposes.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And that's, again, it is perpetually, the planet has been captive. It's been hostage under these forces, and it's constantly being perpetuated. In other words, the cage that we're in is constantly being reinforced and reinforced and reinforced, so that we really can't get out until we finally realize, oh my gosh, this is what's going on,
You have to understand what is going on and how you are being used. Every person that signs up to go fight in the military or go pick up a gun to fight some ignorant other person because somebody asked you to, is a minion for the dark forces. That's all they are. And we need to understand that we have to stop this. We have to stop because it'll never stop. There is no reason for insanity, right? This is just psychopathy of the ones who control these things and create these things and use people for these things. We need to understand that there is this control factor happening, right? And we have to say no. We have to stop it, and we have to say no. No, that's it. No more. No more.
Now, how does humanity actually, I mean, what is a strategy? I mean, and I'm just thinking out loud here with you. I don't even know that we have the answer to this, and there might not be an answer. There might be many answers, many solutions, but just for the purpose of brainstorming, because I can't just imagine just people saying, okay, no more. Okay, so how do you say no more? I mean, I can say no more, I mean, in my room and scream it all day long, but it doesn't make a difference. 20 of us can stand up in our rooms or outside and scream it. And because these forces are just so powerful that it's almost like a mockery. It doesn't matter that we say no more. It doesn't matter that we
population, I'm sorry, they're only powerful because the rest of the population is ignorant of what they're doing. That's the only reason they're powerful, because the rest of the population who follows them continues to follow them. It's not because they're more powerful. It's because the ignorant are choosing to remain ignorant. Which is obviously the majority of people, because that's, that's the majority of, what we're dealing with. And it's like you said, the population wise. But then, then there's the ones that came to the planet to bring some enlightenment into it, some, information from a much higher perspective, which chose to come into this planet, right? And what's happening here? Where are we? How do we turn this around? The ones that supposedly know. I mean, is there? What do we do? Do we meditate? Do we? What do we? I mean, how does this happen exactly? Because we sit under the tree within the light worker community. We sit under the tree and we sing Kumbaya. Don't get me started, man. No. That takes care of all of it. No. Okay. Don't get me started with that. No. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. I got to go and look at that song and listen to it again just to crack me up and laugh, because you always use that, and I have to say it's just funny because you use it so often. It's just funny just because of that. But there are many ways that it has to be done, and we keep saying awareness is the first key, because you need to see that it is what is happening, right? If you don't see that this is what is happening, you're not going to do anything about it. And so that's how light workers give their power away. They don't want to look at it. They just this is oh my God, I don't know. It's clear to me. It's clear to you. I don't understand. What does shining the light to the dark mean? What does this mean? Exposing it. You shine. It's like a flashlight. You take the flashlight, and you're going into those dark corners and shining the flashlight, right? Isn't that what that looks like? Yeah, but I just, you know what? Sometimes people are afraid of what they're going to find. I don't blame them. Imagine going into a cave. Imagine going into a cave and it's pitch black. And I don't like roaches either. I really don't. And I don't want to see, but I had to. My ass was kicked so bad. I had to look at all of those dark little corners that I wasn't wanting to look at, and that's where I found the solution to what was happening in my life. And this is what we have to do. And light workers came here. Light workers came to a dark planet to shine the light on the planet. It doesn't mean you come here and you eat and sleep and sing kumbaya and just be here and breathe. And sometimes that's enough for some people, but it's not enough for the majority, because the technologies and the complexity and the numbers of the people that are working against us are too big. And we need to actually look at them and say no, because it's in the numbers. At this point, it requires numbers of people looking at this and saying, okay, yes, this is what I'm seeing. Yes, it is real. And I'm saying no. And you know what? I believe that could be it. That could be it. That could be the end of it.
Do you think that a lot of this wanting to look away, not really buying, well, I hate to use that word, but not believing in this, it has to do with people just having a hard time believing that these forces are out there, that it could be Mary fairy tale, it could be mythological, that it can't possibly be true. I've heard that a certain guru or gurus or spiritual teachers mention that these things are no longer on the planet, that they were taken off planet. Do you think that could be a reason people are really not looking there?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons people are not looking, and like me, they didn't want to look. I mean, it was scary. I felt like I was impervious, right? I was impervious. I didn't want to look at it because I didn't want to bring it to me. That was just like a visceral kind of fear.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even a thought process. It was just like, oh, I don't want to look at it, so I'm just looking at the pretty stuff. Period. I didn't even, want to think about why. Some people are afraid. Some people see it and they are afraid. Some people have had their power taken away. Some of these people are not home. There's nobody home. Their souls have run away. Some of them are organic portals who have no souls to begin with, right? And that's a large portion of the population. And I think this is something, like you and I really need to get, into a little bit and find out really if that is the case, because that's my suspicion. The other is simply disbelief. They just don't want to believe. And then, the popular one that we all keep hearing that's nauseating by now. I mean, if you look at it, you attract it to you, which is a lot of nonsense because it's already there. Looking at it, it's not going to attract more of it. It's just going to, if you are a being of light, it's going to dispel it, which is what happened in my case. I dispel it more often, whereas before it was working constantly, and now I can dispel it, and that's the difference. So this nonsense that you attract more of it, true, it does come. It does constantly come, but I know what it is, and I know how to get rid of it, right? Eventually I'll get rid of it permanently, but, they still work in ways that I'm not familiar with. So, there's a lot of reasons, but what I would like to say is that there are no more excuses. There may be a lot of reasons, but there are no more excuses at this point in time for people to not face what is happening.
Yeah, well,
and they're not facing it.
They're not, and the thing is that there are really so many people talking about it right now, and I'm talking about big-name people, people that have made a name for themselves already, that have become an expert in the field. That it's not just, this information is not hidden. It's not like it's difficult to find. It's, it's out there, from David Icke to Jay Widener to, even William Henry talks about it. I mean, we can go on and on and on of all the different people that are speaking about this. So it's not like, it was just discovered, and we're the only two people talking about this.
No,
we're
it's
just
everywhere.
We're just two more voices adding on to this. That's all. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get people to do something. And so, what is it that we're supposed to do? Yes, we're supposed to look at it, recognize that there is something there that is in total opposition to the light, in total opposition to the divine plan of the original intent of this planet, the original intent for humanity. And if there's war, if there's pain, if there's torture, if there's agony, suffering of any sort, it's just common sense, just spiritual common sense, to realize that this is in direct opposition to the original plan. I mean, or is it just me that kind of comes up with that? I don't really consider myself a genius by any means, but it's just obvious. And it can't be that a perfect life and a life that's in harmony and peace and joy and in love and all that is only for a few. It should be for everyone. So if everyone is not experiencing it, then there's something out of whack. And that should cause somebody to ask, well, what is causing that?
Right.
Just even that questioning process should be there.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. And it really puts me in a situation, in a bad place. It's like, what do I do? How do I help? Because it's so beyond me. It's so beyond me that I by myself can't fix it, and then you can't either. 3 of us, 5 of us, it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of us to see it and actually do something. And the doing something is the question. What do we do about it? Any clues? Besides kumbayaing, please don't do that.
Not for real. You just did not ask me that.
I did. I most certainly did.
Don't put me on the spot, okay? No pressure.
I just figured. No, it's not putting me on the spot. It's brainstorming together. That's what that is.
Yeah, right. Any clues? Right. Me first. Yeah. Whew. Okay. Well, again, awareness. We have to test this. And people who don't believe that there are these archontic dark forces working on, some people call them demons and jinn and shadow men, and there's so many different names for them, and really there are all different kinds and types of
negative aliens
that are doing this. Negative aliens. There's a bombardment. See, that's the thing. It's not just 1 or 2. It's not just a situation. It's a complex layer upon layer upon layer.
It is.
Of bombardment of technologies to dark energies to sinister forces from the unmanifest to the manifest that are working against humanity. I mean, it's huge. Not that I want to scare anybody, but we can do this. We can do this. We can take care of this. But we have to do this in numbers. No, we can. Don't laugh. It's awareness. We need to be aware, and people can test it. You can test it. You can test it to see if there are like your own feelings, because it feels like depression. A lot of people's depression is not their own depression. It's not theirs. I mean, imagine that. They can literally transfer to you feelings that are not yours, but you think they're yours because you're feeling them. It's quite mind-boggling. And they can do this. And even my housemate, he got onto them because I told them. I said, you have to watch out for this. You have to test me. And this poor guy, he must have thought I was crazy. Now he doesn't think I'm crazy. He makes me lunch. He makes me dinner. He makes sure I make my phone calls on time, right? He's very grateful because he realized that these Archons were working on him, and when he tested it, he found out that it was true, and he would have never realized this on his own. So he's very grateful right now.
Well, you were able to help him take a look at the signs as to what these things do to be able to mess with you, so you'll know that this is what this is. It's not you, it's this. Take a look at this pattern and this pattern and this pattern, and they have a signature that you can detect that it's them.
Yeah, and it stinks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways. First is the awareness, and then once you and you have to test it, right? You test it for yourself and see, okay, is this really my feeling? Am I really thinking these things or feeling these things, or is it really dark energies? And one of the easiest ways that I test, and it works like a charm every single time, and I have done this literally hundreds of times by now, is I smudge with sage the environment. I get it really foggy with sage. And they sell these smudge sticks in any crystal shop or New Age store. They sell them at Whole Foods. They sell them at health food stores, Indian stores. You can get smudge sticks. They're made of sage, right? And so you burn them, light them, and smoke them according to the directions. And that gets rid of a lot of negative energies. And what I do is I combine it with a very quick sea salt shower. I get in the shower and I just scrub down with, really good sea salt. It's not a spa treatment. You just want the energy of the salt on you. So you just quickly, you get it from your head to your toe. I'm in and out in 2 minutes. And when I come out, then I see how I feel. Now, I had a guest in my house for the weekend, and she came into the house feeling really weird. She just was rambling about how she was watching her thoughts going into these dark places and thinking this thing and that thing, and she didn't know why she was thinking these things because she got over it, but yet they came back and they were haunting her, and she's like, I'm going to have fun with my friend. Why am I thinking these things? And she's starting to feel bad, and she's telling me all of this. She comes into my house rambling with all of this, and I could see something in her face that was different. I'm like, this is not her. She's affected by something, and I had my suspicions, right, because now I know what this looks like. So she's going on and on for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to stop. There is a problem, Houston. We see this, and even when I sat her down and I gave her most favorite meal, she was not excited, and she couldn't come out of it. So, okay. So long story short, we staged, and then we each took a sea salt shower. And by the time we were, dressed and whatever, I sat down and she sat down, and then we started talking, and she started hearing herself laughing as she was talking. And I'm like, there's my friend, And I'm in the kitchen, and I'm hearing her laughing, and she's talking, and I'm like, okay, she's laughing again, and she heard herself, and she says, oh, my God, this is me. I'm back. Yep. I feel fine. And I'm like, uh-huh. I said, how much better do you feel than when you came in? And she thought about it, and she said 80%. 80%. Wow. That's a huge number. And I said, yes, you were being affected by negative energies. And so, I had her go through this whole process so that she can see for herself, right, what was taking place. So this is the first step. You become aware of these forces, and then you test it for yourself. And when you test it for yourself and you see how much of it is not yours, then the lights start going on, and then you start figuring out other ways to get yourself out, and people will. Sometimes you can do it instantly. And awareness is the key, because then you start saying no. So saying no is the next step, right? So these are some of the clues. Awareness, saying no when you realize that that's what it is taking place, right? And then making other people aware and telling as many people as possible that this is what is taking place, that the negativity around them, it may not be them. Yeah. It may not. And it starts to spread. And if enough people realize that, man, there is a dark force, there is an energy, what the hell is it? We're saying no, we demand it leave, and then guess what? Guess what has to happen?
Yeah, it has to leave.
It's got
to go. Yeah.
It's being evicted. If it is going to be evicted, it's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, of course, the other one is, if on top of that you practice, shielding yourself and doing that kind of thing, and creating, the light force around you, and anything else like that a person already has in their arsenal of tools, of things that they use spiritually. That on top of that will also help. Then imagine if we all did this together. I believe that we could do this en masse, and if we could address areas and specific cells that we know are creating these dark energies and dark intentions and dark manifestations, if we already know that there are certain people that have been taken over by these dark forces that are now their minions, and we know where they're at, and we know what times and what days and everything they're doing their stuff, we can address that light to them as well. We can actually, evict that out of this planet as well if we all stand together and do that together. Is what I think as well.
Yes, we can.
Because this stuff is, between the cabal and the whatever, the Illuminati, they're all the same thing. They're all people that are shells that are being animated by these forces, which, again, what we're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg, because it's really a nest. It really is a nest of a hierarchy of these off-world forces that are obviously in opposition to the true light, and they're just, their particular, they give their orders, and then it goes down, and they give their orders, and it goes down until it finally manifests into the goons that are, running the planet.
Right.
And so we're here. We're here on the same level, on the same playing field. So it takes us that are in the physical form, in a body, to address the issues that are happening here.
Right.
But it takes a lot of courage to look at this stuff. This stuff is just nasty.
Yes,
this is the type of stuff that is like a horror movie, which I can't stand watching horror movies. I hate it. Hate it with a passion. And
right.
And this stuff is we're living in. We're in the actual motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I can't even flip the channel sometimes. How do you flip the channel? How do you flip the channel when you know that the Vatican is doing all kinds of atrocities to children and all kinds of stuff, with the hiding all the pedophilia that's been going on, when you know about child trafficking, when you know about what goes on with the rapes and the abuse of women, and especially in different countries and things like that. How do you turn the channel and just feel good about that? Because I've got to work on myself. I've got to work on my bills. I've got to work on my spiritual self. And in the meantime, all these other things are going on. I don't have I can't sleep in peace thinking about that, because I haven't done my job. I haven't done what I said I was going to do. But that would be me. I'm sure a lot of us, probably said the same thing. Hey, we're here to uphold the light, and if we're looking the other way, we're really not. Because you're allowing the darkness to take over. So this is hard.
Yeah. That's because, Aria, we've talked about this a lot, but a lot of these people who call themselves light workers are not light workers, right? They're just not. You can't, they're just not. And, some people may be saying, and again, I really don't care. They may be saying, well, you can't pass that judgment. I'm not passing that judgment. It's a statement of fact. There are people who call themselves light workers, and they're not. They're not doing anything that has anything to do with the light, because the light is active, right? It's active. Now, granted, and I've said this before, some light workers are really here because their purpose is to hold light for other light workers. Mm-hmm. But this is the time where we all have to start doing something. We have to. This is a place of action. This is why we're in the physical, because if all we were meant to do is hold light, then we could have done that from the other side. We didn't have to incarnate.
Yeah.
And we need to start all becoming aware. And part of the nefarious thing that is taking place with these dark forces and all their technologies and the ways that they can dupe people, the way they dupe people, is that they don't allow them to believe. So as soon as you start entertaining something, the idea of something, like, the pedophilia, and how organized it is and how rampant it is actually literally pandemic all over across the planet. And it is forbidden to be discussed in certain numbers on the media. They only allow certain cases to come through that will, of course, cause the trauma and the negative feelings amongst those people who have feelings, because not everybody does, and they will allow a small number, but they have like something like a black magic or a hypnotism or a trance or a hypnotic suggestion or a subliminal message, whatever, that says to people, as soon as you hear these words, pedophilia or, abuse of women or rape and all of these things, that you completely blank out. You have no response. They literally do this so that these words are equipped with an inability to respond to them, and so people don't respond to these horrors anymore. They become desensitized because there's a hypnotism that is placed over it, and so they don't look at it and they don't investigate it, and then nothing is done. There are no responses that oppose it. There are no forces that oppose these horrors that are taking place because people are in a hypnotic trance.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that's happening. But then on the other side as well, there are people who have literally become desensitized. They don't want to look at it. They blame the person that it happened to. They literally think that, all these children deserved it. You know what I mean? Like these
they're attracted it.
They deserve to have their backs broken by these sick pedophiles and abused for years, or that women who were raped, they deserved it. Or all of these horrors, or the serial killings, right? When these guys go and they do their shootings either in Colorado, Boston, Texas, wherever you name it, they're killing, somebody. And all of those people who got killed, they deserved it. They had this coming to them. This is absolute sickness. This is a sickness that is given to people so that they don't do anything about it. So there's a lot of reasons, but people have to start snapping out of it. They really do. They need to start snapping out of this sleep, this hypnosis and this trance, because if you're a human being with a soul, then you need to do something. You really need to do something.
Oh, absolutely.
At least making other people aware that this is what is happening, or slap them awake, or wake them up, or do something. But people have to start waking up. This is not a question.
Yeah, no, it definitely, it's definitely, it's not an option actually either. It has to happen. It has to happen because, again, it's not, obviously looking away, it hasn't stopped it. As a matter of fact, it's getting worse. And
it's growing.
It's growing, and the numbers are not being reported. Why aren't the numbers being reported? Why is this stuff not being discussed in mainstream media? Why is that? Because, mainstream media is owned by the same forces that are doing this.
Yeah.
So
literally, there's
literally, literally
companies that own all the media. Oh my God, this is like.
It's
and people hear this and they be, the world is so big. Sometimes they think that there's room, for these things to be taking place, and that it's okay. What they're not understanding is that these things that are taking place, these horrible things, they're all over the world. They're not like so far out there. They're in here. And people have become so desensitized because they've been hearing, if you've lived long enough, you've been hearing these things every single day for your entire life. You start to think of it as normal. There is nothing happening on this planet that is normal in God's world.
No.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's an aberration. It's an aberration. That's what that is.
A complete and total aberration.
Total opposition to the divine. And it frustrates me, and it makes me empty inside sometimes. I feel it's like a pain in my soul because it's like I can't, fight this by myself, and neither can you by yourself. And it's so difficult to get others on the same page, those that should know better, those that agree to come and uphold the light. That for us
because
to
the truth is so weird.
It's like,
so weird.
Imagine the scene, Serena, where, two little hobbits are trying to get rid of that ring. The burden on their shoulders is so amazing. And imagine millions of these orcs coming at them, and they're fighting them, just 2 of them, 3 of them, even, 5 of them, 20 of them, all right? They're fighting it uphill, and these orcs are coming at them by the millions, and they can't convince anybody else to come and join the fight. It's just overwhelming. And all we can do is go, run a site and post and get on the radio show and have our voices heard with the hope that somebody, that a seed is planted somewhere, that something germinates in there.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And imagine, I know that there's more people waking up to it, but it's not. We're not waking up to the quantities. We're not making that quantum leap where we need to, all be on the same page like now, like yesterday, to be effective. So we're wasting a lot of time, and a lot of people just will not want. They just don't want to see it because it's so uncomfortable, and it just, they have bought into the thinking that we really are just fine where we're at. We're on track. We're in the process of ascension. We're almost there. That the 5th dimensional Earth is waiting for us. That and there's nothing to do. We're there already. So it's very difficult for them to let go of that good feeling when we have disgusting-looking creatures that are taking over the planet. Really, do you want to? Which one do you want to look at? The pretty picture of an ascended Earth, or the ugly picture of the orcs coming and of demons and everything breathing down your back? Okay, well, I choose to look at this movie. So they're looking at the movie of the pretty pictures, which is all, everything is a hologram. It's like, everything, that movie is being played by the dark ones that want to keep the kiddies entertained. They're watching Barney. They're watching Big Bird and Sesame Street. Keeping them entertained.
It's hard. It's hard to look at it, but people, if we do this in numbers. If we all do this in numbers, we can do this. We can look at this. We can deal with it. Because really there are, I hope, I'm going to say this, I want to say this, but I'm not even sure.
Go for it.
Actually.
Good.
There's more of us than there are of them? No? Okay, no, that may not be true. So I'm going to take that one back. Oh, God.
Yes.
But what I'm going to say is that the power of the light of those who are still here and still ensouled still can put things back into order, regardless of the numbers that are against us. I think I should say it that way.
That is absolutely correct. I'm in total agreement with you. I'm in total agreement with you.
We have to do this. We have to do this, people.
But yes, but we really need to do that, And of course, the more people that see it, the more people that can join our ranks of those that are willing to do the work that we need to do. Whether it's manifesting, whether it's shining the light on this, sharing this information to wake up others. Whatever that is, we need to do this. We really do. And so with that in mind, we have run out of time again. It's always that kind of conversation that we can just go on. But, of course, we'll just pick up on our next show, which, of course, happens every Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. The show is called Shattering the Matrix because that is the aim. The aim is to put out information out there that will bring us back into the truth, will bring us into reality as to what's really going on behind the scenes so that we do have, hopefully we can give humanity a fighting chance to go back into the original plan, being its original intent, which was being part of the divine plan. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of Serena and I, we thank you, and we look forward to all of you joining us next week on Blog Talk Radio. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.